Employee perks can range from picking a time to go to lunch to preferences on parking. They are generally smaller things that can add up to a lot when the employees feel appreciated for their hard work. But when those perks become entrenched or expected, they may slowly morph into entitlements, which can be the basis for many issues with an emergency communications center. This is Lifeline. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Lifeline 911 with your host, Erica.
Hello.
I'm your co host, Gary, and today we are discussing entitlements in the workplace, a fascinating topic that comes up quite a bit more than one would expect, I imagine.
And one that I think is probably more universal than we know.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think that's heard all around. No matter what your workplace is, be it an office work or a construction site, there's
Yeah.
people that just come to expect things. So when we talk about entitlements, what exactly are we meaning in terms of what's expected or what the employees are wanting on a consistent basis?
Well, I think it's just like you said, it can range from, you know, lunch times, you know, like for our center, we get to pick, or the floor people get to pick what time they go to lunch. Typically, it's based on seniority, longevity, if you will. We also have, certain parking areas, and even though it's supposedly visitors, some people feel entitled to park wherever it's convenient for them, regardless of the rules. They, seats even, go figure, in a center, especially the size of ours. Well, what we have, like, just our section alone, we're upwards of 60 stations,
Hmm.
and they're not all um, assigned. And so it should be first come, first serve. Not always the case because we have people saving seats and people, that have felt as though they could say, hey, this is my spot, move because I'm me and I'm so awesome. Um,
I've been here a long
and
time.
I've been here since God was a boy, and so this is my spot. And how dare you? I mean, it could be as small as that to the one that makes me a little nuts is just an overall sense of importance to the point where none of the rules apply to them, none of the norms are expected of them. And not only should their colleagues or anyone in their mind who is lesser as far as seniority or longevity, experience, skill set, even leadership should move aside based on their expectations.
Hmm. Yeah, and that can definitely cause tension because, um, any place that has seating for employees where you sit down at a desk and work, if you don't have those assigned, and they're sort of free floating, you'll always get people that are like, you know, I don't, it's really strange. Like people, a lot of times will. It looks like they're almost moving in every time they come into work and moving out every time they leave to work because they'll have three, four bags with them, maybe a rolly cart and everything, and it's just like, like I mean, like I get like bringing like maybe if you have like a backpack or something, but like, do you like really need? I don't even know what you bring with all that stuff. I mean, like,
Everything.
yeah, how many books can you go through in a day? How many people don't bring DVDs anymore, but like how many like what do you need all that stuff for?
Because you need your stuff.
Yeah.
That's all I can come up with. Because now, in all fairness, when I was on the floor as a dispatcher, I had a trunk, I had my little cubby, and I fully expected all my stuff to be in my cubby when I got back every day. And because I had what was yet another perk, an assigned or a radio that I would typically, or channel that I would typically work, I just kind of, me and everyone else that shared that space, we kind of moved in. And of course, as I've grown and matured and promoted, I can look back now and go, I was a little bit entitled.
Yeah. But like people like
I know it's shocking.
will like come in and set up like lots of stuff at their desk. Like I'm talking plants and like, just a lot of stuff. And
Literally looks moved into.
yeah. And then if they can't sit there, it's very upsetting to them because they feel like this is all my stuff here. I should be able to kind of sit here. And if, especially if you're work at a place that has a policy where it's, free range kind of sitting,
Hmm.
um, that can really create tension with what the individual employee wants versus what the business may need.
Yeah. And it is, you're absolutely right. I mean, and there's, it doesn't matter the shift. It doesn't matter the discipline. Cause like for us, we have, two primary disciplines: 911 operators, call takers, and dispatchers. And then, of course, we have, disciplines that are kind of fall into like a secondary, right? Or different skill sets added on to that. But for the most part,
Hmm.
you're either taking calls or you're dispatching the calls. And on both sides of the house, you can find that moved in look depending on where you go.
Hmm. And
And it just, you can tell whose seat that is based on the stuff at
yeah,
the seat.
and
What?
yeah, and like so that creates problems because if somebody's like working an earlier shift, like because at our
Hmm.
center we have multiple shifts that report to work, so we'll have overlapping shifts a lot. And if somebody's sitting there and they've been there for 2 hours and somebody else comes in, and they're like, "You're in my spot," that can create tension for no reason.
And there have been conversation.
Yes,
I'll call them conversations
crucial
between people,
conversations.
and conversations that make it up our little podium to where the supervisors sit, which is where Gary and I live. They make it to me, which should never happen.
Right.
But I have found myself on more than one occasion in the middle of one of these conversations about my spot.
Hmm.
And
And
my favorite thing to say, and I've had the pleasure of saying at least once, is actually, it's my spot. It's
yep.
mine. As a supervisor, it's my seat, and you get to sit in it. How about you do that? Go
Yeah.
sit in it.
But it creates such needless drama and tension a lot of times, and uh, adds further stress, completely unnecessary to an already stressful job. And like I get that people like to, I don't know, feel comfortable where they're
Sure.
working and like have their stuff around them, but like if it's causing all of these issues with like how you're interacting with your coworkers, when does it get to the point where you're like, you know what, this the juice ain't worth the squeeze on this one?
Agreed. Well, and it should be, and you're right. That was beautifully said. It should not get there to begin with, but once you realize, oh wait, I might be doing just a little bit too much. One would hope that you would recognize that, but even better would be to say, how about I recognize that this is not mine? Nothing in here belongs to me except for the things that I bring with me and or the things that are assigned, like say your headset or, depending on where you work, a headphone jack. For us, they're called P10s. Just, equipment that is assigned to you, like in a lot of cases, officers even, right? Like the body worn cams and all various types of equipment that is assigned to them. So they can't actually say it is mine
Hmm.
because I'm responsible for it. But in an environment like ours, and we're going to get off to other things, of course, but this is just one of the things that just is
Always
just a
seems to
big one
roll
for
around.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just always seems to roll around my spot, my desk, my seat, my channel, my this, my. And I don't understand where we get that from. And I threw myself under the bus. I can only call it just what you said. It's entitlement.
Hmm.
You just feel like this is mine and I am so awesome at what I do. and I'm awesome because I'm awesome. And so everybody ought to recognize my awesomeness
How awesome I am. Yeah,
and just get out of the way.
and like when it goes from being like a perk, which is like, oh, this is a nice thing to have. I'm thankful for having it. To like, this
Hmm.
is an entitlement. This like where the feeling is like I'm owed this. So if I don't get this, I feel like I'm being screwed out of something. Is
Yes,
the mentality we're kind of talking about here? Because you know, you can have like management or supervisors do things, and it's a nice little change, but when it becomes like an
sure.
expected, it's like I don't know, tipping. That's a whole other thing. But like, when tipping is like a nice, generous thing that you do, that's one thing. But when it's like, I'm gonna make you a cup of coffee and turn the screen around so you can give me a 20% tip, like that's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other thing. And, and entitlements they can take on uh, different forms, not just, a seat or a parking space or a particular channel or that type of a perk. It could also morph into, uh, like we had someone request basically someone to go and make them food or go and make them a beverage, literally go and make it for me because I am here and you're not doing anything, so I fully expect for you to do it, and became quite offended when the other person said that is not a part of my job. No.
Yeah. And like as a supervisor, um, I've often asked people like, can I get you anything from the break room? Do you want a cup of coffee, some water? I'll run and go get your food. Because I want to have the employees not only feel like I care about them, which I do, but I want them to be able to function at their top. And if they need water or Coke or they ordered something, I'll be happy to get it for them if nothing else is
Sure.
happening. But
Well, yeah.
when that becomes sort of the expected norm is when you have
That's
problems.
yeah, that's when it changes. And I think entitlement can, I want to say this right because I don't wanna have everybody going, Erica, if you're not careful with feeling like you deserve something, you will lose sight of gratitude. You will lose sight of being being appreciative for the fact that the supervisor will say, "Hey, I'll run to the break room and get you something, whether it be coffee or water or fetch your food out of the refrigerator or when you place an order for Uber Eats or any of those places, and we'll go up to the front and go get it, even though it's not a short walk. We do those things because we value you as an employee, and like Gary said, we want you to have the best environment. We want you to perform at top. And so that's a small thing for us to do. But when you begin to expect it, you're no longer thankful that I was willing to do it. And that can start sliding into all kinds of things in the way that we treat each other as colleagues. And then I think I love the word you used earlier. I think you said erode. It's horrible for the environment when you have people who feel like because they are simply present, that everyone should make way, part way, and just give you whatever you want or defer to you in some way just because you're there.
Hmm. Yeah. And, seating, I think, is one of the big issues. I think probably the, other big issues are like break times, and different centers can kind of do it different ways, but some centers have assigned break time, so the supervisor will pick your break for you, or maybe the automated system, what have you. And other centers are like, hey, you guys figure out what break time works best for you, and you know go with it. But that can also,
You all work together,
mhm,
you all huddle, whatever, and figure out who has the most seniority and, you know, defer to each other at times because Sally or whatever likes to go at X time. Is it going to kill you to let them have that?
Hmm.
But it also shouldn't be that Sally or whomever else should expect everyone to just defer.
Hmm.
And we have a lot of that, I think, in our work environment. I can't speak to too many others because most of my adult life I've been doing this.
Yeah. Except that time
And
you were a
because
hack.
except right, it was a little different from when I was driving a taxi cab and dispatching for taxi company. It's a little bit different, but even then, in that environment, certain there's still a certain level of entitlement that comes. So it
Hmm.
did, like you said at the opening, it doesn't matter whether you work in an office or in our environment. But I think to me, it feels like sometimes we are behaving at a level that is less than considering what it is we do for a living.
Sure. That I think is an excellent way to kind of put that because uh, in the end, our most important function is to ensure that we're able to succeed at our department's mission, which is to serve the public. And
Hmm.
anything that gets in the way of that, including infighting over what time people go to lunch or what seats they're in or what radio channel they're working, all of that like plays against it. So if that
Yeah.
becomes a problem, you know it's sometimes easier to just say, you know what, if you guys can't work it out together, I'm going to decide for you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even though that sounds kind of harsh, it's sometimes uh, would create. I'd rather have the employees be mad at me than be mad at each other because they're not getting what they want. And
Absolutely.
yeah, because
Agreed. I've,
that.
I've said that as a supervisor before. Look,
Mm-hmm.
guys, work this out.
Mm-hmm.
Work it out. You really, really, really don't want me in the middle of this because while I'm not going to strive to make everybody upset, the fact that I don't care nearly as much as you guys seem to care, I promise most of you is going to be upset because I'm going to do what is easiest, what is going to give me less headache and cause me have to not to talk to the lot of you about this thing. So please work this out
Mm-hmm.
so I don't have to get involved. And then you're all mad, and then I have to back out. I can't walk out of the door like normal people. I have to back out because y'all coming for me and looking for me in the parking lot.
Yeah, tires are slashed. Yeah.
It's just,
And to kind of play devil's advocate for the other side, since you and I are both supervisors, so we're kind of coming at it from
nope,
that angle. Um,
no.
with, I guess, should there be, I guess, trappings of seniority or privilege from being a senior member of staff? Because I think, like we've spoken a lot about how experience is often not appreciated very much in terms of pay, at least in most agencies and departments, and in any job really. So is that kind of a justification for expecting? I think it still comes back down to is it a perk or an expectation? That is what really determines, as you said, your attitude of gratitude.
Yeah.
Not to
And
use too many platitudes.
sh- wow. Well done, Gary. You hung in there for a long time. I'm quite proud of you.
Thank you.
No, but seriously, all jokes aside, I am all about experience. We talk about this off camera a lot. We have some people, we're blessed in our center to have some ridiculously experienced and ridiculously good people, right? With that, if they walked out the door, yes, the show would go on, but we would be lesser for their absence because of what they bring to the table. And if I am able and if I can, without, going too far, can I offer them a perk? If I can do that, I'm happy to do that. But your years of experience and longevity is really not for me.
Hmm.
It's not even really for you. The true beneficiary of all of your years of experience is our customer, our our first responders in the field, no matter the discipline, whether it be EMS, fire, or police. And if you are an experienced call taker, like we are blessed to have so many of, we as supervisors aren't really the beneficiaries of that. It's the public and the field responders as well. So while I would love to give you perks out the nose if I can, if I'm not able to give you any, should my ability or inability to give you those perks affect the job that you do or the way that you do the job?
Right. Goes back to
It
tipping.
shouldn't.
Exactly. Everybody should do their job to the best of the ability. In our business, though,
Period.
tipping is called bribery, so we don't do it.
Exactly. And if I could, for me as a supervisor, this is where my saying to you that you are appreciated, saying to you and showing it to you in the way that I interact with you, in the way that I treat you, in the way that I at times will praise you publicly, even, or will really put your money where your mouth is and put pen to paper or hand to keyboard, however you want to look at it. That should be your true reward, if you will, because that costs me nothing to give you. If I can't give you any of the other perks, a special seat that is yours and you should, you get to sit there every single time. What happens if you can't sit there?
Yeah.
Now, what am I supposed to do? How am I now supposed to make you feel valued? It shouldn't be tied to that. And I think that is where the entitlement comes in, and it infuriates me as a supervisor. And I'm just going to be honest. We said we were going to be real here. Here we are. That it's what infuriates me, because people who behave, especially in a environment like ours and the work that we do, when you behave in that way and it diminishes the work product that you put out, that's less than. That is unworthy of what we do.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. It also upsets me. I think I view it usually as almost a lack of professionalism. You know,
It
because
is absolutely that.
what you got to do in any industry, especially ours, is kind of roll with the punches. Things are going to change. Things are going to happen. Plans are going to go awry once the rubber meets the road, and it's
Yeah,
incumbent on all of us to be flexible and malleable enough to take our skill set and do what we need to do in order to get the job done to keep people safe. And
agreed.
if you like, and I'm not talking like, hey, can I, asking for something, and then if you're told no, be like, okay, that's fine. But like, it's sort of that just constant like, you could tell people that are like they feel that they're owed something. And granted, we're in the public sector, so we don't have um, the ability to, have a lot of the things the private sector can do, like go to like hand out like extra monies for things, but it still allows us to kind of keep everyone feeling valuable, as you said, in terms of like putting pen to paper, writing a commendation, every once in a while to make sure that everyone is feeling worthwhile and happy.
Sure. And if we are speaking from a leadership level, and if I've got any supervisors or managers or anybody in leadership or aspiring to be, if you are in a position to give someone something that is free, which is praise, acknowledgement, please do that. Because I can promise, if you ask most employees which would they rather, X parking space or, you know, just about any other perk that is not monetary, right? If you ask them if they had to choose between that or knowing for sure that their leadership respects the work that they do and the contribution that they make, the average person would say, I would much rather know that I am appreciated, that I am seen, and that my contribution matters
Mm,
to not just the unseen public, right? Because the public at large does appreciate what we do, but the public also at large does not think about us until they need us,
yeah, and until there's a problem.
which is fine because if the machine is running the way it's supposed to, they don't think about us, and they shouldn't have to think about us. I'm
Absolutely.
okay with that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's our whole point is to be uh, there only if we're needed, and to
Hmm.
not have to be thought about otherwise, you know. And
Agreed. Yeah.
um, so keeping like, and there are so many things that, you know, we can try and do to make people feel appreciated. Like in our center, we're very fortunate to have a robust telecommunicators week every year. And a lot of people
Yes.
work very, very hard on that, yourself included, to make sure
Mm.
that that kind of goes off without a hitch. We did have a
Yeah.
episode last year, I think, talking about how we did our telecommunicators week. So if you're
Yeah.
working at a center that doesn't do that, I recommend maybe taking a listen or watch to that, um,
Yeah.
because that I think is a good way to spend some time to say thank you to the employees. And uh, even though we can't give perks all the time, it's a good week to kind of take time to look at that and focus in on that.
Yeah. And one of the things that we do well is, our team, our committee always makes it a point to provide um, little slips of paper that are, nicely decorated so that we can recognize each other. Because by just because of the nature of our business, the public is not in a position to do that often. And so most the public at large doesn't even know what TC Week is.
Hmm.
They don't know what that is. And so I think one of the reasons why I think people sometimes feel entitled or they behave in that way is because they're not getting what they need any other way. That's why I was saying before, if I have any supervisors or leads or even managers, I would like to think that by the time you reach management, you don't have to be told this, but I think maybe it's not maybe it's not about not wanting to, but just not thinking about how important it is to do your best to make your charges feel seen
Hmm.
and appreciated. And words are free.
Yeah, and that's actually a really interesting point you raised. I don't know if there's any research on it, but is there a like an inverse relationship between how appreciated and cared about employees feel versus how entitled they feel? So if you have like employees that really feel like, hey, I'm part of a team, I'm really appreciated, is their level of like, I expect entitlements like low? I would imagine it would be, but I don't know if there's any
I
research
would
on
think
that.
so. I mean, I don't know if there I'm sure there probably is. We would just have to go look for it, but I just think human nature alone is its own research because when you as a supervisor or somebody like you and if I don't know how many times I've gone down to the floor and said to someone who has tenure, who's been there a long time, you really did an outstanding job on that. They know they did because the skill set is there. I know they did because the skill set is there. But when I take time to walk away from the station where I live, walk down to where they are and say, that was stupid good. Wow. I don't know how many times I can tell you they were like, "Oh, thank you."
Hmm.
And whether they realized they did it or not, they sat up just a little higher in the chair.
Yeah, felt good about themselves for an
Well, sure.
acknowledged job well done. So
Yeah,
that may be one of the best ways to combat that sort of sense of like, you know, I need this as my seat, or I need this as my radio, or what have you. I need this as my break time.
sure.
I keep harping on those because those are pretty much the big three ones that, you know, we encounter. But
Yes, those
um,
are the big ones that we encounter in our life, in our little corner of the world.
taking a few moments to kind of walk down and say, hey, good job with that. You know, acknowledge the good work that's done every day in your center by your people, um, can really go a long way. I would think. I don't have any data to back this up, and I'm usually a pretty data driven guy, so I'm going out on a little bit of a limb here. But
That's saying something, y'all. That Gary don't have no data. Mm,
I would I uh, I would theorize that that would help people kind of tamp down that I need these entitlements, because kind of what those are really is just saying I want to be recognized for something I've done, you know, longevity or whatever. And if you
hmm.
can, because everybody has that as a real basic human need, and if you can give that to
Absolutely.
people in a more uh, productive and constructive way, then
Hmm.
they don't need that.
Yeah. And you may very well have those that no matter what you do, what you say, they're gonna have those, and you deal with them in a completely different way depending on your position in your center. And if you have questions, hit me up. But other than that, just do the best you can to verbalize and give people. It's a basic need. Everybody, I don't care who you are, what you're doing, enjoys hearing a job well done. And thank you goes a long way.
Well, speaking of hitting you up with questions, I think that's a good segue into our mailbag segment.
Ding ding, mailbag's here. It's the sound we love to hear. Quick and bright, the vibe is clear. Let's read your words with a cheer.
Alrighty, our first question comes from Tactical Talks, who asks, do dispatchers ever get follow-up information about the calls they handle, or do they find out what happened?
Yes and no. I know. So, like for us in our center, we were talking earlier about the two disciplines. You're either taking the call or you're dispatching the call. Sometimes for the call taker, there is not very much closure, or it's greatly delayed, right? Because they take the call, especially if it's busy, they're taking their 911 call, they get it done, they get it handed off to the dispatcher, who is in turn, giving the information to the officers. They may never know what happened. They can kind of read along as the call's being worked on the other side of the house, but the true deets, the receipts, they don't often get unless someone is mindful enough to go back and say, "Hey, this is what happened there." Um, for the dispatchers, a little they get a little more closure because they're the ones talking to the officers, and they can read the calls, and they're hearing the conversations that are happening amongst the field responders, so they can pick up a little more. But as far as the backstory, not often, unless you know someone. Like if you know a field responder who knows another one, who knows another one, and you finally get it, play the phone game, and it comes back around, and it still may not be anywhere near what really happened. But to truly answer your question, it's pretty rare that they get that quote unquote closure.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree?
Yeah, I would say that there are some, at least at our department, where we have, for exceptional calls, we might have what's called an after action review, where,
I didn't even
or
think
sort of
about
a,
that. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
sort of a debriefing, where
Yeah,
everybody involved in the call on the law enforcement side, at least will kind of get together in a room, throw out rank,
yeah.
and kind of just talk about it. Um, but yeah, most of the time you're left without that, and as you've
Hmm.
said many times, like that's kind of like watching a horror movie with your eyes closed, and
Yeah.
not even seeing the ending or hearing the ending of it, and that's where
You can speculate, you get an idea, but I mean, that true closure, having knowing what happened. Mm-mm.
mm, and that's where I think a lot of that trauma stress comes from, is because whether or not it's a happy or sad ending, to not know the ending is worse, because then
I agree.
you your mind goes haywire with that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's human nature. You just what ifs, all the what ifs, and I think this is what happened. I would imagine that your mind just kind of starts filling in the blanks as best as you can based on what you heard.
Hmm. And they're never happy blanks. It's not a fun ad
Nope,
lib or mad lib.
nope, no, no.
Alrighty, from Under the Siren asks, do call center records, correction, do call centers record every single call, and how long are those recordings kept?
Yes. And as for how long, oh, I can never remember this one, Gary. You're probably better. I know it's at least a year, but it might be longer than that. I think it depends on your agency, right? When it comes to the audio.
Yeah, so different agencies will have different retention standards. Ours is a year for audio,
Okay.
unless it's something that might be like a ongoing case, like a homicide or something like that. But different agencies, it'll just depend on the agency, and then different documents within that. So you might have like 911 calls and radio traffic held for a year, but like physical evidence might be 6 weeks and emails might be 10 years. So there's
Yeah.
all kinds of different records. In fact, they have whole jobs that are called retention specialists, and all they do
Yeah.
is keep track of a lot of information and purge it when
Yeah.
needed.
I can't imagine.
An exciting job, I am sure.
And you know what? Oh, that would be amazing. That would be really interesting. Like to know what the trauma is or how those people are impacted that may like pull WAV files and stuff because they have to hear that
Mm-hmm.
in
And
order to make sure it's right.
yeah, and they're only hearing the worst of the worst if you're pulling WAV files for court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we might have to talk. We got some people.
I think that's an excellent idea.
I'm just way over here. Sorry.
No,
My
it's
bad.
good.
Okay.
That's all good. Preview of what's to come, maybe.
Right.
And our last question is from VHF Fanatic. How is a call routed if someone is driving and crosses city or county boundaries during the call?
Cell towers.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. I mean this is probably one that you should answer because you probably are better at this, but I have a very basic knowledge. I'm trying to bone up and get better because there's all kinds of switches and all kinds of other stuff that goes on in the background of the 911 world that nobody knows anything about. It's kind of scary when you think about it. Think the Matrix only for 911. Anyway, but at its base level, it would be it's based off the cell phone towers
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
as they're traveling.
911 typically will get a location known as a alley, an automatic location information from cell phones. It'll give kind of the general area of where you're at. And as you move across a jurisdictional boundary, then you'll get usually transferred to whatever agency would need to handle you, unless it's something that the original agency would take care of. And there's all kinds of things involved in like what the jurisdiction's going to be. So if it's an ongoing incident, like like the baby mama's chasing you, in like from out of town into the county or something, then that's you're not going to be passed off to a different agency. But if you're
That's
traveling,
funny.
yeah, if you're traveling through a place and it's not happen like an incident that's part of a jurisdiction that you're leaving, then you might get transferred off. So like there's a lot of variables on that. But yeah, basically if it's something that you need to go to a different jurisdiction for, you'll be transferred over to it.
Ta-da.
Not the sexiest answer, but there it is.
It is. I mean, that's what I'm like. There's so much that goes on underneath that. There's just a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But thank you all so much for sending your questions in. We appreciate that. And thank you for joining us on this video. We hope that you found it somewhat enlightening and maybe thought-provoking. If you did, we'd love to hear from you. You can always shoot us an email to lifeline911podcast@gmail.com or leave a comment down below. And make sure you like and subscribe if you would, please. From all of us here at Lifeline, I'm Gary.
I'm Erica.
And we will see you next week.
Thank you for watching our production of Lifeline 911. If you have any questions about today's topic or topics you'd like us to cover in the future, please reach out to us at lifeline911podcast@gmail.com. This has been a production of Lifeline 911 Podcast, copyright 2025. From all of us at Lifeline, stay safe out there. And until next time, this is Lifeline 911 signing off.